Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 6th of March. And so we can see that with that MBI white rising, we were expecting some choppiness. We did end up with matching down at the lows there. And then, of course, late buying came in. But again, you're still stuck with the magenta ball still above yellow in a very weak spot here down at the 10. If we were rising, it'd be a different story. It'd be much stronger. And if you definitely had the orange here on the DOC dip below red, we would have seen that transition. But no reset here of short-term buyers, and that's a problem. So you're going to get pushes and then retraces right back into it. And that's just the reality of it. We had a slight improvement, but then we started to go the other way on the shakeout here. So, yeah, again, this is the confusion, and it all this seems to be related to news events. And of course, you get back and forth. I mean, you've got all sorts of situations happening within Europe. You're seeing some numbers starting to come out, oil continuing to fall. So that's all a bonus from that standpoint, which sort of makes the old data not as relevant because you can see where things are headed. So from an NQ, you can see likewise, same situation. MBI White holding up a little bit stronger within that, but exactly the same effect, and the result was identical. No issues with that. Treasury's improving the yield slightly as money pops back into the market. They had parked it a little bit, waiting, and they feel like they have a bit more of a directional move. But this starting to get into interesting area. You start to get below this 65 threshold, and it could be interesting because that will be an economic driver. The further that gets into that 50 range, look out, because that will turn the engine on because things will be cheaper and prices will go. Now, the euro exploding on this because obviously that's a benefit to them, far less, but then they also announced they're just going to spend through the roof, and they're going to be the new EU, and they expect that with the readings that they saw from the U.S. economy, that it's going to fade relative to them. Which this is going to be a sad event when you watch this all collapse again. But it's enough to keep things stabilized because they were in really big hurt there down at the lower bottom here when we were down at near 102 range. That was a scary time for them because at the end of the day, the eurozone is in a world of hurt, particularly if they end up trying to fund continuation of war. But it's not appearing like that's going to take place. From a gold standpoint, still holding up. Is battling it just like we saw with the other ones. But the news for Bitcoin, the hype that they're going to announce that it's part of a reserve for the U.S. coming up. So, this is where the shenanigans of news cycles that play into it. But still, green crossover DOCs are buy signals from that standpoint. You have the dip below the orange that you did see with the ES that you see here, and you see the effective change difference. It makes a significant point because it's an inflection point. It shows the transition between them. And from an ETH, likewise, a slight move, but still a little weaker relative to Bitcoin. So that's where the excitement is, and you can see the differential in it. From an intraday, so this is that beautiful choppy. So we ended up with that dip coming all the way down, hitting to the zero, and then the turnaround the magenta, and that led to the intraday spike, which created a couple of positive extremes, but those got filled pretty fast, and you can see the move down now with MBI White leading, so it's all negative, and that began right here with that DOC spread and that clean spider. I haven't talked about those in a while. I haven't seen many of them, but it's perfect where you get the crossover, the dip down, and then boom, when it peaks, that's just that transition of force. And without a DOC orange reset, bulls were in trouble with that one, and boom, you can see the follow through, and it's pretty fast, pretty clean, and just again wiping out call buyers, taking care of the put buyers from earlier, just adding to their general confusion, which is all just pretty good stuff. Intraday, you can see it was pretty soft all the way through, and then it caught the excitement and took off to the peak. But all of that's just been wiped out here in the European session because, as the Europeans will realize, they're in a bad space and it's not going to get any better because nothing they're doing is going to help the situation. So it's just a slow climb into can they throw enough money to keep things looking good for a while before it just all goes to hell in a handbasket, so to speak. We'll see. We'll continue to follow readings. Been pretty clean so far. As always, though, anything relevant, I'll put in the Skype chat for you. Have a good one. Trade well.